I know like this is about finding yourself, but it's not necessarily about finding yourself. I think it's about peeling the layers that society has conditioned you to act and behave and think, and going back to like the original.
Okay, no, actually I have so much to update you guys on.
Okay.
Like I said last week, there were like so many things to update, but it would have been the entire episode.
Yeah.
Like it could have been JJ's life update episode. So I'm sprinkling it out. And so today I wanted to tell you guys about my Canada trip.
Okay.
It was my first time in Canada.
Okay.
Like first time ever. First time meeting the boyfriend's parents. First time going to a wedding together with my boyfriend. So a lot of firsts.
Wait, I'm so surprised that you didn't have like the official couple photo at the wedding.
Like there were too many photos I wanted to post. So I freaked out and I didn't.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly
like,
what you mean.
There's so many, like, even for my birthday, like, he was making fun of me. He was like, wow, next time I see somebody post an Instagram like post, I gotta appreciate it more, because who knows, they might have spent 2 hours like you just did. Like I was literally
like trying to sort.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, which one should be the second photo and which one should be the third one? And I was like, oh, it's like 10 photos too obnoxious, like in the single post. So it was like that for my birthday, but also Canada, I wasn't really sure. Like, I wasn't really sure, number one, but number two, I forgot to turn on the international calling. So I would have only been able to do it when I, like, you know, got home and whatnot.
Had Wi-Fi, yes.
Exactly. So, yeah, lots of firsts. It was just such a good break. I was in the, you know, Vancouver, Richmond, British Columbia area, and it was just so quiet.
That's so nice. Also, like, without your phone cell, like, service too, I feel like it's like, it's forcing you to reset, you know?
I truly just like, checked out, clocked out of all that because, well, one, I couldn't.
Yeah.
But it was, I think it was just a good, so you guys, I went Labor Day weekend, a couple days before Labor Day. So it not only was it a holiday weekend, so people weren't really there.
Oh,
because I think the people who actually reside there like leave is what they told me, is what, my boyfriend's parents told me. It's like the last like big holiday before holiday season.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So people weren't really in town for that, but also the day after I left was when Canada's borders opened to international flights. So that's why it was also less people. So it was just like literally a quiet weekend. Like it was so quiet, so peaceful, so beautiful, just so different from LA.
Yeah.
Canada was great.
Oh, yay. Yeah. We love that.
Yes. I came back literally with a heavier suitcase.
Because you got snacks and
so many
candy
snacks,
for everyone.
Yes. And I couldn't even try any of it because I was like waiting for my tooth. Remember, you guys? But then my parents ate it all.
Okay, I'll give you some too. So. I'll give you some like back.
No, I'm gonna go
re-gift
again.
it.
I hope to go again. Again.
Okay.
So, and now I know what candies people like better, so I'll just buy that specific. Maybe the nougats that I got.
Oh, okay, for sure.
Yeah, but then I also mentioned it was my birthday, so I came back, and the day after I came back was my birthday. And I was like journaling, and I was like, honestly, like, I feel like we kind of hyped it up. You know what I mean? Like we had shared on the podcast that I love my birthday. And I love my birthday. But it was just stressful because I was like away for a week. And then getting my wisdom tooth pulled out was kind of up in the air. So I would have hated to book something, like book a place and like plan it all out for me to get the wisdom tooth emergency removal. And that's why it was so up in the air until like the day of.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because between all the girls, we're like, wait, so
like, is
this happening? And I was like, I think so, but everything was up in the air. But
I mean, it was so good though.
Yeah,
like it was more like, so it wasn't the extravagant like throw a birthday party type of birthday this year, but it was like all the people that that are close to me wished me a happy birthday. All the people that I care about and wanted to spend my birthday with, like I ended up doing that. So
yeah.
Did I share that I got a bike?
No, you didn't.
Did I not? Well, I got a bike.
Oh my
like
gosh.
not a motorcycle bike, like a
bicycle?
like a road bike. Yeah. Wait, that sounds like a motorcycle too. A road bike. What do you call it?
It's like a bicycle.
Like a bicycle. Yeah,
a bike.
A bicycle.
Yes.
A bicycle.
Like a very manual.
Yes. Bicycle. Wow. Yes, 2 cycle wheels.
Okay,
yeah.
well, I would like to add on to your birthday gifts. Please, excuse.
Should I open it now?
Yeah, you should open it now.
God, I'm excited.
Okay, wait, open it over here. Yogi, open it here. Open it here.
I already saw it. Oh my gosh, I was going to buy myself.
I had a feeling, and I was like, I hope she hasn't
Oh
bought it yet. Oh, it opens up this way, which doesn't make
Okay,
that
let me
much
move
sense.
this.
Yeah.
Laptop is not important. I'm not wearing makeup, so I'm probably so red. I'm shook.
Also, I didn't. Okay, there's so many options that I was like, okay, I like these ones the best.
Oh my gosh, this is so cute.
Yeah. Okay, and I was really nervous about the sizing, and so that's why literally I was asking you. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like you're like a 6.5, right?" And then I was asking you if you had wide feet. You didn't make the connection, right?
No idea.
Okay, good. Okay,
I had
good.
no idea. I think with socks these are good.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my god. I really wanted hokas.
Yeah.
I really wanted hokas.
I know you did. I know you did.
I would hug you, but I'm like so sweaty.
No,
I
I'm so
can't.
sweaty. No, don't touch me.
Yeah, don't touch me.
Don't touch me.
Yeah. I'm just gonna keep one shoe on.
Okay, beautiful.
Oh my god, thank you.
You're so welcome. Because I also feel like I don't.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's about time.
So lightweight.
Wait, but you know what? You know, in Korean culture, you're not supposed to get somebody's shoes because of that myth that like they're gonna walk out of their or run out. Run out of my life.
I'm gonna run away.
She's gonna run out of my life.
Pair.
Oh, okay. So you can run back.
So yeah, it counteracts it. You know.
Okay, beautiful.
Wait. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh,
wait.
They're
Really
so
wanted
cute.
these.
They're really cute.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Oh yay.
How am I gonna ever wear them?
What do you
I don't want
mean?
to dirty them.
No, you can just get them dirty.
No.
Shoes are meant to be worn.
You're right, but oh my god.
She got that hoka. She got
Thank
those
you.
hokas on. You're so welcome.
Oh my gosh. Wait. Oh my god.
Yeah.
This is like my 5th time
Raising her foot up.
Okay, no more,
But-
because it's like making me sweat a lot.
Yes. No. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Oh, one of my favorite Virgos.
Oh, thank you. I also want to. There was another gift you got me.
Yes.
So like looping back, remember when I was freaking out about my arm allergy, you guys, because I have like a slight sun allergy. Well, Hannah is so thoughtful and got me the sleeves.
The Ajuma driving sleeves.
Yes, the Ajuma driving sleeves. And someone literally was like looking at me. Well, because I was at like a red light and the guy was on the bike, and we kind of just eye contacted, you know, and like I really looked like an Ajuma. Like my hair was in a pin, right, like on a clip, and I had both sleeves on, both hands on the wheel, and I was like, hey. I just looked at him like,
like smiling. Oh my goodness.
So
honestly, I'm thinking about getting myself some.
You should.
Yeah, because
you should.
You know, I like actually freak out when I'm not wearing sunscreen on my hands.
Yeah, I know. Like in my car, you're like hiding your hands from the sun.
Yeah,
under your butt. Yeah. Yeah. You guys, I don't like you know, like I feel like I did that as a kid, where you put both hands under your butt cheeks and you kind of like rock back and forth.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Hannah looked like.
Wait,
like,
I hope you know I like literally do that in almost
still do that
any setting, especially
like,
now that it's like turning fall, winter.
Yeah.
Always. Constantly. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Oh, wow. And so, yeah, I guess for me, what's been going on? I feel like, okay, this is like so TMI, but you guys know by now how TMI we are. And
yes.
So I didn't get my period last month, and I think it's literally because I was so exhausted and tired from traveling. And then I finally got it this month, and I swear my symptoms are double.
Yep.
Like literally, I was such an emotional wreck this past weekend. Like I was just like not having a good time at all. Like got yelled at by a homeless man.
Yes.
And it like really affected me emotionally. And then I like I've been like going on like the dating apps, right?
Yeah.
And like have gone on a couple dates, but like to be honest, I don't know what's gonna come of it. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think my relationship with the dating apps has gotten so unhealthy. Like I am constantly like going on there to seek validation, and it's
no.
I know. Like okay, I was like on such a good roll.
Yeah.
And then this past week, it was literally just like swiping, and being like, what the hell? And then even like the likes that I would get, I would be low key offended. I was like, are you serious? Because we talked about the ranking system before, and I was like, there's no fucking way. I am pissed off, dude. I need to have a word with Hinge customer service.
Email them.
Truly. Because I was like, are we on the same playing field?
Maybe like the pool, like, okay, you guys, because technically right now it's like the qualification round, right? For
Right.
cuffing season. What do we call it?
It's preseason right now.
Preseason. It's
Yeah.
preseason. Like, so maybe that's why. Maybe that's why your options aren't as
Like
plentiful.
extensive.
Yeah. Aren't as plentiful.
Well, I fucking hope so.
Yeah.
And then I really hope so. And then also like even like there was somebody who he goes, oh, I think I like recognize you. Like you have a podcast, right? And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, what the heck is going on? And then I was like kind of like looking forward to going on a date, right? And I had kind of just like like I didn't want to text anymore, and I was like, hey, like if you're free, like we should meet up this weekend. And he was like, hey, like I can't meet up this weekend, a little busy, maybe next week. And then he never responded after I like had responded back like, yeah, I'm down. And so I got a little butthurt because I was like getting my hopes up. Like literally I went and didn't follow my own rules of like, don't stalk the guy, don't get your hopes up, like don't like set expectations. And then he just like stopped responding, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
No, but I was like really looking forward to it. Like he seemed like a cool person. And so I hope he like actually doesn't listen to this. Can you
To
imagine?
feed his ego and be like, oh, I'm a cool person.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a little like it was kind of a strange week, but I'm feeling actually a lot better.
That's good.
So
That's good.
yeah, all that to say, you know, if you're on the dating apps, I hope that you would be like conscious of not, you know, getting like all your validation.
Yes.
And I think that is a perfect transition into our episode with Loren, which is on self-love, finding yourself in
Yes.
self-love.
Yes. So without further ado,
Here's Loren Lee.
all right, so we are here with our famous friend.
TMC
Our YouTube star and our hot, like ultra hot friend who attracts all the rich old men when we're at Temple in SF.
Dude, they were following her like flies. It was crazy.
Like a mosquito. Like a
A
mosquito.
mosquito. Maybe not a fly. Maybe a mosquito. You're right.
You're right.
Oh
you're right.
gosh, no. And she is single-handedly the friend that I get the most inquiries about in my DMs. Dude, the amount of men that shoot their shot being like, hey, is your friend single?
Yes.
Oh, I'm like, oh, sorry, 9 years, rip. She been
Yes.
taken for 9 years,
Yup.
rip.
Yes, yes.
Men are fighting for their lives in my DMs. Truly. Truly. But we want to introduce Loren Lee. It's
Woo.
L_Loren, Loren on Instagram. And you can find her at Loren Lee on YouTube. She's like in her little squat pose with her little like sweater and her little Dior bag. It's very cute.
Yes, and I believe her like banner, once you click into it, because there are two Loren Lees. How dare the other Loren?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Has like 4 sectioned off photos in case, you know, you're confused and cannot identify her.
Yeah, we've been friends since, how long has it been?
Maybe since we were like, what, 12, 13?
Dude, yeah, we were hella young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
12?
we've known each other
Yeah.
longer,
Yeah.
you and me.
I don't know why. Like, I have a very vague and faint memory of Loren and the tetherball courts.
No,
I don't know why.
That was like my shit.
Yeah,
for
like,
sure. For sure.
You know, like in elementary school, you wait for the day when like the class schedule comes out and you find out who you're in class with and like the teacher.
Yeah.
We never had class together, but I remember Loren because of the tetherball courts, number 1. But number 2, I just didn't like your class. I just remember I felt like there was class rivalry.
Gosh, yeah. So we've been friends with Loren for a very long time. You guys always hear us talk about like our group of 9 girls, and so she's one of the 9.
Yes.
But yeah, just welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I was not expecting that intro at all. Got me feeling shy.
I'm shy.
But thank you. That was really sweet.
Yes.
Yeah. But we wanted to just deep dive on, you know, finding yourself within self-love. And, you know, like I think Hannah and I, we both talked about how we were very introspective this past year and a half. But I think another friend who was super introspective did a lot of reflecting. And to be really honest, I didn't really know this about you, Loren, but like sometimes when we're in our group chats and Loren like sends a video when a friend is like going through something, like I feel like your like responses are always the longest, and it's just kind of like, oh wow, like oh wow,
it really taps into the heart of things for sure.
And so I've also mentioned that last year, sometime late last year, like I was having a hard time, I think just like with work and just quarantine and all that, and there was truly a point when like I felt like I was on the complete opposite spectrum as both of you, Hannah and Loren. Like I was in a weird funk, like, oh my god, like am I supposed to be going through these hardships, like why can't I pull myself out of it, while you guys were both thriving. And I don't even know, I mean I was just like, wow, like how, like what, how can I get there, like they're there, how can I get there? So like what was that about? Like, because we were truly, if you put us next to each other, I'm gonna just call her out, I think like Julia and I, like we were kind of in the same area. We were kind of like, if you saw our Instagram like group chat, I feel like Julia and I were just complaining. It was complaining videos. Oh my god, today you guys this happened and blah blah blah, and it was us crying literally. And then it was you guys like, you guys, I'm so happy, like my cup of coffee, and it was just the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, quarantine was definitely the turning point for all of this, like my self-love journey, my healing journey, all of it. I mean, I guess for the healing journey, it's like kind of like the part 2. But basically, I think what it was the beginning of quarantine was when I moved back to LA.
Right.
And traced back, I went to Boston for school, transferred to San Diego, and then moved back to LA once school was done. And I spent like another year in San Diego. But basically, I think just moving back to LA, being back in like my element, because I was born and raised here. And then that obviously mixed in with quarantine and all the extra time that we had. All of it kind of really, I guess, triggered like a change in me. And definitely one was just like my self-love process, just how I thought about self-love, and also just who I was. Like I didn't really think too much into who I am and how I wanted to live my life until quarantine, I would say.
I see. And then just really quickly, I know like we probably all have very different definitions of self-love. Like what do you think like self-love is to you? Like how would you define it?
For me, I would say full acceptance of yourself and valuing or prioritizing what you want to kind of emulate to the world, as opposed to like focusing on what other people think that it should be and what other people want to, I guess, achieve in this world.
Right.
Like putting that all to the side and really just like digging in and thinking about what you want and then acting upon that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because I feel like there's definitely a lot of outside influences as to why you partake in self-love practices or activities, for example. And I think a lot of that was kind of just feeding my ego. Like, for example, like I want to take care of my fitness and health. Not even like I want to better my physical appearance, but I think it was more so like, oh, because this is what like people who have their life together do. Like they take care of their health, they take care of their fitness.
Right.
Like it was still very validating my ego, not necessarily like my soul, if that makes sense.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just so meaty. That's a lot.
She said BULGOGI podcast?
That's
Right.
wow.
I'm
That's
gonna bring it.
Yeah, show up with the
bulgogi,
corgi.
So, okay. That was a lot. Because, and a big chunk of that, right? You came to this realization about how it was feeding your ego all during quarantine. I mean, still some people are kind of quarantining, but this was like last year, you guys, you know?
Like deep in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I guess just a deep dive. Let's bring it back to the roots. How did this journey begin? And yeah, just like from there, like how did we come to this end point of this self-love through quarantine?
So I'm sure all of us have childhood trauma.
Yes.
And
Oh, yes.
I think for me, I didn't really dig into that until I would say early college.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess if I were to kind of unpack that, basically it was a lot of just family troubles in the sense that my parents had a very rocky relationship when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I think part of that definitely had to do with the fact that when they actually first had my oldest brother, like I don't think they were really planning that. So I think by the time that like I was born, I'm the third child, they thought they had it all down. And I think that they were still definitely figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I got very exposed to a lot of like those troubles, like for example, just them fighting and masking it, not thinking that, you know, I was really absorbing any of that while I was
Right.
absorbing all of that.
Right.
And I think the part that made it the worst was the fact that they never were open about kind of communicating as a family their relationship and how that affects our dynamic.
Right.
Yeah.
It was definitely something that me and my brothers knew, but it was just never addressed because at that point we were young and it's not our responsibility to address it to them. Like they should address it to us.
Right,
At least be
right.
like, hey, like I know that we're fighting, but like we're gonna get through this. We still love you guys. Like there was no like reassurance in that sense. It was more just like they would fight and then get over it and it was calm and everything was chill.
Right.
And then it would happen again. And I think during that time I definitely just brushed all of that off. Like of course I would be like, oh, why are they fighting? Like I hate this. Like why am I kind of in the middle of this?
Because it would still be tense.
Exactly.
Like you're not talking about it, but it's like the
yeah.
vibes are off.
Exactly. And I think it wasn't until like I got older where I realized that it was pretty traumatic for me to have to go through all of that as a kid and how that affected me. And just family is definitely a really important value to I think a lot of us. And so damaging like kind of that aspect of my life was a lot. Like I didn't think it was a lot until I got older.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I also think that like the fact that we're not seeing the resolution part, I think is like a big like reason why it impacts us, because like we're not openly talking about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's definitely a disconnect between like their intentions and the actual outcomes, which like
yeah.
you know, like everyone's a little messed up.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
of course like they're going to like raise us with the best intentions, but like there's always going to be a bad part. So
Well, and especially because you and I are like, you know, firstborns. I think like there was a point when I was fighting a lot with my mom. I think it was junior year of high school when we're all just tense, right? Like APs, SATs, all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? My mom's never had a practice child. I am her practice child. Like, let's just not talk back because it's going to save my ass. Like,
Yeah.
you know what? It's just easier for us if I don't talk back. Let's pretend I'm her practice child. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, like you said, like high school, early college.
Yeah, so I think definitely more so early college. I think late high school, I was like starting to feel the effects of like my trauma.
Right.
Like because you know how you have like that bratty teen phase, especially in middle school, I would say.
Oh yeah, dude, Tumblr days.
Yeah.
Like I hate my life days.
Like I had that, and then I had like a resurgence of it,
Oh.
like late high school. And I was so confused why, because I thought I got over it because I could definitely recognize like in the middle school days when I had that. Right. And then when it came back like later in high school, I was like confused as to why. And then it wasn't until like I got into college where I realized like, oh shoot, like I was acting like that because like I think my body was literally finally telling me like you're ready to address your trauma.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I think I was definitely someone who my identity lied a lot in my doing. So when I was growing up, I was just a student, right? Like that's all we really know,
right?
Especially coming from like an Asian household, like being a good student is very valued. And so I think when I originally applied to colleges and realized that I didn't really get into any of the schools that I really wanted to go, that's when I think I was very kind of, like, things were kind of disrupted for me. Because before then, I was living a very chill life, aside from like obviously the family fighting. But overall, like I was a happy kid. Yeah. And I think that was when I realized like, oh shoot, like what am I gonna do? Like I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. Like I didn't get, it was like very dramatic because obviously I think then too, like when you don't get into college of your choice, it's such a big deal to you.
Yeah.
Right.
But I guess skip to the part where I just end up going to the college that I settled for, which is in Boston. Went there for a year and then realized that I didn't want to stay there for all 4 years. And don't get me wrong, I don't regret my experience going there at all. Like if I could go back and change things, like I wouldn't. I would have it exactly be the same. But I think going there and coming back and living back at home again, because I had to come back for community college since I wasn't going to stay all 4 years there and transfer. Basically, that was where it really hit me, where I was just like, who am I? Like, what am I doing with my life? Like, am I a failure? Like, it was just, I had no direction, like everything was just like a big dark hole.
And this is like after you came back.
Exactly.
From your first year. Okay.
And it wasn't just like the whole student identity thing. It was also just coming back and living with my parents again.
Yeah.
Because after being away for a whole year and having all this independence and also not as much responsibility because my parents were still paying for like my dorming and my like school and all of that. And then coming back to a space where it's very like confined and they're kind of just hovering almost, that like I think set something off for me.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I think that's when it hit me that like the reason why I was just going through this crazy emotional mental health, the opposite of kick, mental health kick, not a kick.
yeah, just like dark hole
boost. Wait, the opposite. Funk? Yeah.
Funk?
Like that's when it hit me that I was going through that, and honestly, like I was depressed. And I can't say like that clinically because I didn't see a therapist or a psychiatrist or anything, but all the symptoms were definitely there. At the time, I didn't realize that I was, but looking back at it now, like I could confirm that I definitely think I was. During this time, it was just a lot of like, why was I born into this family? Like, why am I going through all of this? Because at the time I thought like education and like my career or my college path was like the biggest priority. It's like, why am I in a situation where all I have to be is a student and like I'm in this like situation where I can't even go to the college that I really want to go to? Like, I think everything was just very dramatic at that time.
Yeah.
And I think everything was also just related back to my parents because it's like, why can't I have just grown up in a household where my parents just told me like, pursue whatever you want to do? Or like, it was very much, I mean, they did do that, but still it was definitely the traditional route of going to a good college and like getting a good job because you went to a good college and all of that. So definitely a lot of like almost blaming in a way. But at the same time, all of that time was definitely a blur as well. So I guess it's a little bit hard to trace back.
Yeah. Wow. So you realized, you write your trigger. You realized what the root of that trigger was. I mean, but how did you spend that time? And what came after that? But like while you were home, like it was just going to school.
Yeah, so that was when I was going to community college, and then that's when I was also working at Starbucks.
Yeah.
So honestly, it was just
let's go
I
benefits.
remember. Yeah. So that was basically it was just work and school. Like I always wanted to be away from home. When I was home, I was literally either sleeping or crying. Like literally. That's all I was doing. And I feel like literally I think the only meals I ate was literally from Starbucks. Because it's like, I think part of me felt bad that I was being like a bad daughter, that I didn't want to accept my mom's meal.
Oh
yeah, so it was just all of it was bad. That's all I can really say. Like, that's all I really remember.
I know what
like
you mean.
everything I'm telling you guys is
mean.
honestly all I remember.
Yeah, because you know, your body needs to protect itself. It will block out the trauma.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
why I think one of the most helpful things that I've like read about is like your environment is a really, really big factor. And so like when you moved to LA, like how did you feel like being in a completely new setting? Like did it feel like a refresh? Like what has it been like?
It's like hard to say because moving to LA itself didn't help heal me. But then now that I'm healed, it makes sense why it would be while I'm in LA.
Why is that?
I think it's because coming here, it also kind of reminded me of just the time when I was like in a bad place mentally, like living with my parents. And I think it was more like a full circle moment almost coming back here, just because I always envisioned myself living in LA in the city with my boyfriend, which I do. And I think, I don't know, maybe like the fact that I was kind of in the place that I always thought about when I was younger, it definitely helped like ground me, because I think we're constantly looking for like what's next. And then like here I am like 5-10 years ago, this is exactly where I wanted to be.
Wow.
And then so I don't know, like, and also that obviously with the timing of quarantine and having all that extra time to really like reflect and become introspective, I think all of it just adds to the fact that like the timeline of my healing and like my self-love journey, it all like aligns.
Right.
And I definitely want to talk about like the post heal, but when you say like, okay, so you moved to LA and it wasn't necessarily the move that healed you, but what was this healing process?
So it was honestly, okay, well, what kicked it off was our exercise, I would say, of doing the values exercise.
Yes.
And
when we recorded ourselves, chose 3, and remember we said that none of the 9 of us chose the same 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
But even then, I think only like 2-3 people chose the same one, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, all of us had like 3 different ones.
Yeah.
So that exercise.
And if you guys don't remember, go back to our values episode.
Yes. Yeah. That one goes very in depth. Yeah.
Yes.
So that kicked it off because I think prior to that, I didn't necessarily think so much about like how I want to live life, aside from the fact that like I want to be like successful kind of thing. Like I didn't really have or live with so much intention, I would say. It was more so just action and no intention. And so I think basically that exercise helped me really discover like what kind of life do I want to live and who do I want to be really, and like what do I want to reflect. And that eventually led me to therapy. And after graduating that, I think I'm just like definitely in like the best place I've ever been. And I think a lot of that was just unconditioning everything I learned.
Yes, unlearning what you've learned.
Exactly. So I know like this is about finding yourself, but honestly, like it's not necessarily about finding yourself. I think it's about like peeling the layers that society has conditioned you to act and behave and think, and going back to like the original. So you're not finding yourself, I guess you're like uncovering yourself in a way. Yeah. So I think that like realization kind of set everything off in terms of self-acceptance, self-love, living the way that I truly want to live, not the way that society tells you to live. And that overall just made me so much happier and live a life that I truly like want to live.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think like in terms of like, I think one of the things that I've said in the past on this podcast is like, you are the average of the 5 people around you. And I think like this is a really great example of how like we randomly were like, hey, I want to learn about your guys' values. And it has deepened our relationship so much, like not only with each other, but I think like within ourselves, because I never really like understood, right, like the point of values. Like I was always just kind of like, oh, like I value honesty and trust and loyalty, but like I was never like living them out, and so like I think like it's like a good guide. And I will say that over the years of knowing you, I feel like recently there's almost like this sense of like levity to you, like you're a very like light person. Like, and I think when you had said like it's not about like finding yourself, it's about like uncovering who you've been, like you've always been there. Like I used to see this when we were in 4th grade, and like it's come back, like your iconic laugh has come back, like you making jokes about everything has kind of like come back. Like I'm like, oh shit.
I think like it's funny that you point that out, because I think when I did like my first healing, I guess you could say, when I finally processed like my childhood trauma, because I would say like the quarantine healing was like healing 2.0. But during that first initial healing, I think I always questioned, like, I used to be so bubbly, I used to be so lighthearted, like, why am I not like this anymore, blah, blah, blah. And I was, like, definitely beating myself up about it. And I think the way that I tried to go about it was, like, honestly, I think introversion versus extroversion was like a big thing for me. It's like back then I was a lot more extroverted, so I think I definitely like honed in on that. It's like, why am I so introverted? Like why aren't I someone who like wants to be more social and like hang out with more people like I used to? And I think I was like grabbing onto that identity like so much that like it hindered me from like anything else. And so I think during healing 2.0 I realized that like just clinging on to these identities only, I think, hinders you from becoming your best self. So
yes,
I don't think, so to put it in like a positive perspective, instead of saying like, oh, like I'm a hardworking person, blah, 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 like I think just like all labels, like you just need to get rid of. Right. And it's like hard to explain, but basically like in my essence, I know I'm everything I want to be. It's just all the layers of like my ego that kind of pile up on that on top is what's making it hard for me to come back to like who I already am. And I think before I was like just seeking so much like where, like how can I be more extroverted, or how can I be more confident, whatever it is. I was like constantly seeking it, not thinking that it was already within me, when it very like well is.
And I think this ego, it like differs for people, right? And I think the reason it's so hard for me, at least in my ego, like for me to let go of it, is the fear factor. Where other people, and stability, but yeah, like fear factor, stability, just all these other like reasons why all of us like, make excuses for why we can't let it go,
Yeah. And then understanding that like everyone's like a complicated human being.
Oh yes,
and like
multidimensional.
And like like you said, getting rid of that like black and white mentality. I think that was something that I also like really benefited from, like personally for me, through therapy. Like I didn't realize that like there's no like who's to say that something is good or bad, because it may seem good in the moment but it could be bad in the long run, and vice versa. And so I think like getting rid of the like unlearning, like you said, those two things has been really, really like big for me, and like the self-love thing. And then also just to like talk a little bit more about like focusing on your values and like living that out. Like how do you exactly do that? Because I think it feels a little floaty, a little spacey, but how are you actually doing that in your daily?
I think part of it is just every decision that you make, okay, not every, but I think the ones that are like worth thinking about, you need to go back to, is it aligned with like what I value? So for example, I think right now I'm definitely in kind of like a weird stage in terms of my career. Like I don't really know where I want to go with it. And overall, like I don't really want to continue working the 9-to-5 corporate job, right? But part of me is like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. Like this is the safest bet. Like I need to make these like logical sound choices and stick with that, right? But then when I go back to like my values of like authenticity, for example, if I was truly living like an authentic life, like for me personally, I wouldn't be settling for like jobs, careers, whatever, that just make me feel secure. It would be things that genuinely bring me joy and make me happiness, right? So when I get to the point where I have to start applying for jobs and stuff again, when I'm applying, like, I can't just skip over to the part where it's like, okay, like screw 9 to 5, I'm gonna do something completely creative or completely like entrepreneurial or whatever. I don't think I'm in a place where I could do that yet. But it's like when I apply for certain jobs, I'm not going to do it. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this because this is like my safest bet. Like my experience aligns with this one. Like it makes sense. Like I probably have a good chance of getting it, yada, yada, yada. I think it's more so going to be like, okay, is this going to benefit my plan of potentially doing something entrepreneurial or something creative? Like just like all the decisions you make, you have to think about like how it feeds into your value. Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's like definitely a balance of like being present and wanting to do what you want to do now, but also like working towards your goals and making sure that everything you are doing is aligning with, you know, the type of life that you're trying to achieve.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
it's a
so
lot.
hard.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Because I think for someone like me, I have to like stop myself from like always thinking about like the down the road picture, right? Like I think like sometimes I justify the hardship in the moment because it's like, oh, it's worth it for the long run.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you guys have seen me when I refer back to that moment when it was, I think, my ultimate low. I like close to my freshman year, moving away, college low, like right, like I was really there was a point where I was really down during quarantine, and I feel like we had dinner and all of you guys said you need to like leave the company, like you need to go. Like I asked multiple people, even my parents were like, you need to leave. You know,
my mom even said, I was literally telling my mom, she was like, she needs to leave.
Yeah. And like I was just so like when I think about it now, I'm just like, why couldn't I just like put in the 2 weeks then?
Yeah.
And I stuck it out.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was surprised more people weren't surprised that like at the job, because like I feel like they all should have been like, oh, this was a lot longer than I thought. Like, you know what I mean? Because everyone knew I was having such a hard time, except my ego just couldn't let that go because I was so stuck on like no, but I need to like make this much and have this as a part of my resume if I want to get to this position in 5 years.
Yeah.
And so it cost me a lot
yeah.
of my health.
Yeah. I feel like it worked for you though, in the sense that like just like your personality and just how you are, like you made it work. I think if I was in that position, I probably would have literally just not been able to recover from it. So I think it definitely depends on the person. Like you being you, like you can make it work.
Also, what are your values? Isn't it like stability?
It is.
Like you're huge on that.
Yeah.
So
that's why it was so hard, you know? But I think it made it even harder because going back to the average of 5, like we are all so integrated in each other's lives. Like I could clearly identify I was not happy.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, like I can be where you guys were at in that moment. I can be there. I want to be there. It's just so hard to get there.
Yeah.
You know, but I knew it was there for me.
Yeah.
And you said this in the beginning about wanting to emulate that type of lifestyle, and like I wanted that so badly. Yet it was almost like, like double-edged sword, like where my pro is the con also, where I was just so fixated on the stability that I just it costed me the present.
Yeah.
You know?
that makes sense.
It costed the present.
Yeah.
And I don't really know where that roots from. Like, I don't know if it's because I feel this need to, like, you know, I'm the first child, like immigrant parents, like I want to be stable to give back to them. But, you know, for you, how, like, rooting all your actions to your values, having that good balance of like focusing on the present, but also like, you know, kind of like
working towards your goals.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Honestly, it's definitely still a work in progress. I think it's a very hard thing because like part of me is like, okay, like tomorrow's not guaranteed, so I'm gonna live today exactly how I want to live today, like in this moment. And I think also as someone who is in her head a lot, I definitely just catch myself not necessarily daydreaming, but just thinking of things that randomly come up and just focusing on those things. So for example, if like, I don't know, I was not drinking enough water and I started drinking water, and then I started thinking like, oh, I didn't drink enough water today. Oh, like, why aren't I having like as healthy habits as I should be? Like blah, blah, blah. Like instead of, letting your mind talk, like just remembering that like I am like the awareness behind these thoughts. Like these thoughts are running and I'm not the thoughts themselves. And I kind of just shut the thoughts off as soon as I realized that. Because you can't have awareness and these like, wandering mindless thoughts at the same time. Like once awareness comes, like the thoughts shut off. And so I think just practicing that on the daily has definitely helped me, like in terms of the bigger picture. Because I think overall, a lot of my problems are created in my head, right? So as soon as I realize that that's what I'm doing to myself, it's just become kind of like almost a natural reaction now to just be like, stop. Like we're here right now. All of these things that I'm thinking about aren't even occurring in this like present moment, present situation. So why am I letting it consume me?
Yeah.
And I think once I started getting more of the hang of that, I realized like how much of what I was doing before when I wasn't stopping myself and stopping my thoughts were not even me. It was just kind of society's conditioned aspect of me.
Yeah.
That was...
Do you have like an example that you would think about kind of more consistently?
I think one of the things that I would definitely do was like think about my career. So I would, let's say like I was doing work and then I'm like, like I need to leave this job, right? And then that kind of like triggers all the thoughts of like, I should start looking for a job. Like, but like I only have experience in this specific thing and that's not what I want to do. Like, I'm just not going to be able to find one. Like, should I just like quit everything and like move somewhere completely different? And like all these, just everything kind of, it's like a tumbleweed effect. And I think as soon as I recognize that that's what I'm doing, I resort back to like, okay, like the whole reason why I started thinking of all these things is because this little situation or email or whatever came up at work, and it kind of reminded me that I'm not currently happy with my job. But then when I think about it, it's like, oh, but it's like if it really affected me, like I would have actually left. Like I think I go back to like the whole like gratitude aspect of like I'm so happy to have this job that I could still work from home. Like I'm not stressed, like I'm chilling, like I want to make more money, but at the same time, like right now it seems like I'm prioritizing my peace over my income. So like why am I worrying about other jobs? And like it's just a lot of it is just a lot of back and forth, I would say. Yeah.
Maybe it's like the two Julies that you always talk about.
Yeah. We need a name for that. We need a name for that.
It's literally the consciousness behind your thoughts. Like those are the two Julies.
Yes.
Like you're the observer and the thoughts. You know? So thank you for taking us like kind of like through your journey from like, a really, really tough time with the trauma and like through college and like all of the moves and like, like I think like Julie and I as like you're very like close friends, like we're just so happy to see like how much you've like grown, like really like getting back to like your old self, like the self that's always been there, but maybe just like got a little bit lost along the way, which is completely normal. And so where do you kind of see like your future going? Like how do you think you're gonna be like trying to live out your life?
Definitely going to continue implementing, I guess, living consciously. Like that is like my overall goal. Like recently I've discovered, for me personally, my life purpose is literally just to do that. Live consciously, live present, make all my decisions based on, you know, my values, who I am, like what I genuinely want to do, not like any other external factors, right? But of course, like balancing that with the reality of this world, like we live in America, we live in LA, like we live in a very capitalistic, consumer heavy society.
Yeah.
And I definitely am still attached to all of that as well. So it's definitely a big balancing act. But I think as long as I have that interruption of thought daily, like where I recognize that I'm just letting my mind go and realizing like, okay, like that's not me, like I'm the consciousness, right? And I think as long as I'm doing that daily, like that is enough to fulfill me. And so I trust that through doing that and through living in alignment with my values, everything that I want to achieve and everything that is meant for me to achieve will happen.
Wow.
Like I've definitely got to the point where like I completely trust the process. And when I find myself that I'm not, I feel like just things happen in life where I'm just reminded that I will. Yeah, it's a lot. Like I think it's hard to vocalize because I'm still learning all of this as well and like putting it into practice. But I think the big things are honestly just doing everything that you want to do because it's what you want to do. Like I think I didn't realize that everything that I was doing prior to all of this, like learning and healing and all of that, I thought that I was in complete control of my life. Like I thought everything that I was doing was because I genuinely wanted to do it. But it wasn't until I came to this point now where like I was completely wrong. Like it wasn't that at all. And now that I have like this different mindset to compare it to, I think it's helped me realize like how much more enjoyable and exciting life is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think when you're living for other people's like desires for you, like whether it's your parents or society or whomever it may be, like you almost start to like grow a resentment because you're like, I never wanted to do this in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this? And so I really like that. Like I do think like I'm slowly learning to live in like authenticity and just being like, is this something I actually want, or like are people just telling me that this is it? Yeah. So trying to like maybe just listen to like my intuition a bit more.
Yeah.
And
also listen in general. Like I think that's a big thing too. Like I didn't realize like just absorbing everyone else like while they're talking or like while things are happening, like I think it helps you grow a lot. Like at first, I think just like as a society too, like we definitely value people who are the loudest in the room or whatever it is. But I think overall, just getting to a point where you really just listen, that itself is, I think, a really big way to grow.
Yeah, because I definitely think like amongst like all of the girls too, like I'll get like random tidbits and I'm like, I carry it with me. I'm like, oh wow. Like even today in the gym, I think Loren, something that you had said recently was like all these like self-care things, like I don't do it to love myself, but I do it because I love myself. And like it was the first time that I had been literally like shaking, doing squats or whatever, and been like, oh, this is like I truly like value how this is going to benefit me. Or like I love myself so much that I like want to push myself past my limits and whatnot. And so that's just like one of the small tidbits that like I think I've learned. And like, so yeah, I think it's really nice to have like a community where you can like come together.
And I feel like it's almost like you trying to seek living a life that's aligned automatically brings you to like a life that is aligned, if that makes sense. Like through seeking like alignment with like your values and the way you live your life and all of that, you naturally find yourself wanting to do things that only continue to like speed up that process.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, huh. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
My big takeaway is listening more. Listening more. Well, I think I had a phase when I was like, I'm gonna listen more. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Because I think, like, I mean, that's a huge strength, being able to listen. And I think it was, I don't know, I had learned something about like servant leadership, and like, it's not, like you said, it's not about being the biggest, loudest voice, but it's like listening to the people and then giving them what they want. Like, how are you gonna know how somebody feels if you're not listening to how they are feeling?
Yeah.
So I think I think that was like a really good reminder for me to just listen more to myself, to those I love, my friends, in order for me to either like recognize like what I want, recognize what I don't want maybe, but that is my big takeaway.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. And just like to conclude, what do you want to leave our gogis with? If you had to like give them advice, if they're on like this self-love, self-healing journey.
Everything that you want and have and want to achieve, all of that is already within you. You don't need to look for any external source. And yeah, like, if you don't love yourself, I love you.
We love you too.
Yes, we love you too.
Yeah.
I guess I just want to just add to that a little bit. Like, I know you shared your story, but this is truly one of those things where everybody's story is so different, right? Because you recognize this mainly because you were away in Boston too, right? Like, I say the same thing. Like, freshman year of Q's was hell. Like, it was so hard for me. But yeah, I don't think I would ever change that experience for anything else, because then I wouldn't have realized these things about me and like just grown to like where I am now. So everybody's journey is just so different, because your day-to-day, my day-to-day, like our life experiences to the last drop is just so different. So definitely don't compare, because comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And also, you are not your thoughts, experiences, or emotions.
Cool.
Cool.
And so if you guys want to give, no, not if you want to. You guys, please go give Loren a follow at L_LOREN on Instagram. Just follow her on all platforms.
Yeah.
Guys, you will see my comments under literally every single one of her posts, because truly it's the content I look forward to the most.
Yes.
Thank you.
It just brings pure joy.
Truly.
Pure joy.
And if you guys don't like or follow or whatever, it's fine, because I'm doing it for me.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
not for anyone else.
You're right. And if you guys want to give us a follow, please go ahead at bulgogi.podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and at bulgogi podcast on Twitter. And you guys, we launched our YouTube channel, so please go follow us on there, subscribe,
Yes.
turn on those notification bells. And yeah, we really want to like start building a community, so please feel free to comment all of your thoughts
And share.
and like just all of it. Yeah. And you can find me at HanaKat, HANAKATTT.
And me at BEJULIFIED.
Yay.
All right.
One. She knows it. Ready? 1, 2, 3.